this story is descriptive of his grandfather, and he said it involves a priest, a minister, and a rabbi, and he points out they never get together anywhere but in jokes. But in telling the story, he's talking about these three people who are out to play golf together. They go out to Moonbrook, and they want to play, and they get out onto the course, and there's this foursome in front of them that is just fatiguingly slow. And at first they're a little upset, and by the third hole they're furious. They've been out there for an hour, and they've played 3 holes of golf, and they just can't stand it anymore, so they hop in their carts, they go back to the president of the golf course, go into his office, and they say, look, this is just outrageous. How can you allow these guys to play this slowly? And the president of the golf course says, of all people, I'm most ashamed of you because those 4 people in front of you are blind. And the priest said, oh my God, I just feel awful. In fact, I feel so bad that on Sunday I'm gonna preach my sermon about patience. And the minister says, boy, me too. I really feel awful about this, and on Sunday I'll talk about humility. And the rabbi looks at the guy and says, why don't they play at night? In a way, this session is to allow you to ask questions like, why don't we play at night? To shake things up a little bit. And we hope you get something out of this. When we're done with all of these separate sessions, we'll have lunch together, and then what we hope is in a strong brainstorming kind of way, we'll get at to Tyler Swanson and Jane Cleaver, who will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Tom. It is a pleasure this morning to recognize a good friend and great leader of the Community Foundation, someone we're going to give the John D. Hamilton Award for Community Service. And I think it's especially fitting that John be here this morning, and I'd like to recognize him for his continuing leadership in our community for all things which are good. But this morning we're going to recognize Greg Peterson. Greg is the recently retired president of the Community Foundation, and as the new president, I can tell you we miss him, because Greg did a great job. And Greg's wife Cindy is with us this morning, and I think it's fitting we recognize her. Greg, I'm going to ask you to come up here while we talk about you. Cindy, would you stand and...
I'm happy to do that.
I have a few nice things to say about Greg. I don't usually say nice things in front of him, which...
That's why we're taping this.
says a little bit about our relationship. We've had a great relationship for many years and in a variety of ways. But certainly one of the most enjoyable has been in our capacity, our various capacities related to the work of the Community Foundation. Greg became a member of the board of the Community Foundation in 1989. He served on the board for 10 years, 2 terms, 5 years. In 1984.
Guy teaches math.
Numbers. That's why I used to be an accountant. Right? But anyway, after being on the board for 5 years, in 1989 he was elected president and served full 5 years as president, and we were very active as a community foundation while he was president. And I have a lot of numbers I'd like to share with you because in a lot of ways the success of the Community Foundation is measured by numbers because we're such a developing organization. Certainly our service to the community comes first, but to be honest, we often look at the numbers and as a measure of our capability for good. The Community Foundation, during Greg's tenure on the board, we went from 100 annual donations to 2,000 separate contributions. that shows you how we increased our base of support in the community under Greg's leadership. The total assets of the foundation went from $9 million to nearly $18 million. Is that twice? The Community Foundation has literally become the center for all scholarship activity in southern Chautauqua County. And in 1984, we awarded $83,000 in scholarships, and in 1993-94, it was $830,000 in scholarships. So obviously, we've done well, and we've grown, and although these are numbers, they represent our capacity for doing good, and again, under Greg's leadership, that the quality of his leadership, I should say, is obvious and excellent. Greg had a few tough times while he was president of the foundation. We lost both our executive director and our fiscal officer. And for those of you who have been on boards, you know that's always a little stumbling block when you're trying to make a living over here and the board or the activity for which you're responsible on a volunteer basis is without leadership. Well, we weren't, because Greg stopped making a living, and it seemed as if he was working full-time at the Community Foundation. And that year, activities did not stop at all, and our growth continued, and all sorts of wonderful things happened. And as a result, we're all very grateful to Greg for everything that he did. And I do miss him at the Community Foundation. He did a great job. His leadership was insightful and always energetic. And for that, we thank him.
In addition to all of the wonderful work that Greg did at the Community Foundation, he has given to this community in many, many other ways. As a matter of fact, we kind of wonder about the Phillips-Lytle connection, if given the fact that he's spending so much time. For those of you that...
Everybody here for Phillips-Lytle?
But is one of their clients. Any of you that have heard Mike Bellani talk about the Jamestown Jammers and the wonderful community contribution that has been given through Greg's efforts in getting that team here and making them a part of our community. Greg put untold hours into that, and it was a labor of love. Greg is quite, as you all probably know, quite the sports fanatic, so this was not selfless, but he did commit just tons and tons of time into that and made all the connections. I think one of the things that we really appreciate about Greg is all that he does behind the scenes that makes those little pieces come together, and he's not always standing up front taking the credit, but he's done a lot of work in the background, and the Jamestown Jammers is one of those examples that is here. It's a part of our community, and a great deal of that has to do with his commitment to making that all happen for us. He has been, for 5 years, involved in the sports auction for WCA Hospital. And again, any of you that get caught up in the whirlwind of Greg's collecting all of this memorabilia from various places, displaying it, again, at Phillips-Lytle, I think it's just wonderful. There's this linkage there. All the hard work that he has done to really create an event there that has generated $35,000 over the years, and has really brought some excitement to the community at the same time, and that has been terrific. Greg has been actively involved with the Resource Center. He's been involved with the Private Industry Council since I came to the community. He's active with Allegheny College, and he does a lot with his family. He is a committed family man. He has 3 wonderful children, and he has a lot of activities around their events, particularly skating, that takes up a lot of their time. And he's involved in so much in the community in general. I was really pleased to be asked to be a part of this with Tyler on behalf of the Community Foundation, not only because of all of the things, these specific events, these specific tasks that Greg has taken on for the community, but actually to recognize the band. He is a committed family man, as I've said. He brings great integrity to his profession, and I enjoy that relationship that we have on various issues related to his work. And he has enormous concern in giving to the community. And it's in recognition of all of those things that this award is being given.
The award says, in appreciation and grateful recognition of the dedication, leadership, and support of Gregory L. Peterson in furthering community spirit and enhancing the quality of life in the Chautauqua region, presented this 15th day of September, 1994.
Thank you.
Shucks. Thank you very much. Thanks to Tom Becker, especially as he set up. He's a guy who wants to start with an agenda, stick to an agenda. You've noticed that he gave the welcome at 8:50, and during that period of time, Tyler makes his speech, Jane makes his speech, Greg Peterson's supposed to do something in recognition of this honor, all of which has to be done by 9 o'clock. He knows my style. I talked to Floss Cash yesterday to try to ascertain what was expected of me, and in her normal, demure self, said, Greg, just be yourself. And she paused. And second thought, be kind, be courteous, be humble. Accordingly, I will. Floss also said, Greg, you have a propensity for talking about baseball at certain events, trying to segue something, some sort of story. And she said, look, nobody has any interest. They're on strike. And ironically, they called off the season yesterday. So during this dark period of my life, I have spending some time with Shakespeare. This may shock a few folks. And been reading a variety of the Bard's best works. And through that, I have created a little bit of a mock interview to kind of put the baseball season and the cultural, that we're in this cultural forum here into perspective. And if I could, bear with me, just have this little bit of an interview here. This is with Shakespeare. Well, Bard, salaries have exploded upward again. Your opinions of the new contracts. Shakespeare. Those that much covet are with gain so fond. For what they have not, that which they possess they scatter and unloose it from their bond. And so, by hoping more, they have but less. Taming of the shrew. Who do you blame, the players or the owners? The Bard. They are as sick that surfeit that too much, as they that starve with nothing, the Merchant of Venice. You must admit, that's the third question, you must admit that agents serve some useful purpose. The Bard. Let every eye negotiate for itself, and trust no agent. Much ado about nothing. Does the player's agent Donald Fear impress in this time of economic crisis? The Bard. He draweth out the thread of his verbosity finer than that staple of his argument. Love's labor lost. I had one other question for the Bard. Can the Cubs ever rise to a pennant? Pursuant to King Richard III. Or second, I see them glory like shooting star fall to the base earth from the firmament. For you, Tom. 10 minutes, get Seriously, what an honor it is to be associated with anything with John Hamilton. The mere fact that John Hamilton's name is on that award is an honor beyond belief for me. We all know of John's contributions to the community, their legion. And I'm here with humility and grace, principally because of things that John has provided to this community. And also the fact I've been associated with the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, and also because of the fact my last act as president was to extend the contract of Donald Lusher for another year. John is my hero. He's been closely aligned with the success that Tyler talked about regarding the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation. The expense of those who have heard this before, it's through John's vision, and a vision of a few other folks like Betty Lene, who's here today, who had a dream that perhaps the Chautauqua region could, in fact, serve and support a community foundation. It is John's leadership who went to the Gebby Foundation, beat on the board, and said, let's hire a consultant to come in and do a feasibility study. They did so. This feasibility study was done by a premier consultant, a guy named Eugene Struckoff, who came in and said, gee, based on the demographics, based on the geography, based on a lot of factors, it will fail here. But Chautauqua has something unique, something that's worth taking a crack at, something worth investing. John took that report together with some other leaders and convinced the Gebby Foundation to originally seed the foundation for $300,000. Over that 17-year period, the Gebby Foundation, again through John's leadership, has invested more than $1 million in the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation. From those investments, I'd like to think we've harvested quite a bit. Tyler used figures, $18 million almost over the last 17 years. The fact that we give out the kind of scholarships we've been giving out the last few years, which I think over 550 some folks from our area actually get scholarships last year, which is a tremendous amount. We have over 160 funds. Last year alone, 2,250 people actually supported us individually with individual contributions, which is terrific. So for John, thank you for doing all that you've been doing. Thank you for doing that which has led your name beyond this plaque, and something which I will proudly hang at my office at Phillips Lytle. Also, I will bring this tape back to Phillips Lytle so that they know what I've been doing last year. Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, and those of the organizations that you hear that you represent, you must be very proud of. We're here because we are a community which has an awful lot of assets. We are located today in one of those assets, here at Chautauqua Institution, one which I'm sure we're all extremely proud of. At times I wonder whether some of the rest of the community realizes what an asset this Chautauqua Institution really is. We have a few nuggets in our midst, in the form of those who have been gainfully employed, Tom Becker, Dan Braden, and Tom, of course, brought Jane, which was the best thing that Tom did here. But more importantly, those are the type of people who have invested not only their time here at the institution, but invested their time in the community, as have you folks. It's really exciting. And this excitement of not only the institution, the excitement of all the various assets we have in the community need to be shared. I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's something that you're the ambassadors of. You're the ones who go out and have your spheres of influence and have your opportunities to spread the good word that Don's going to tell us all about, that we need to spread in a few minutes. You get involved, and for that you are all to be complimented. As I've mentioned before, as far as all the nice things Tyler and Jane have said about me and the Community Foundation, I felt like a jockey on a horse who's just won the Triple Crown. $18 million Community Foundation, that's pretty fun to talk about. However, I've been fortunate to sit on a horse which is a winner from the beginning. It's easy to take a picture of an annual report. It's easy to take a picture today of the guy who happens to be there when they announce that it's going to, the Community Foundation is $17 or $18 million. However, there are many people with a unique vision who embrace the foundation spirit, as as you've embraced your particular agency spirit, nurtured it, trained it, groomed it, showed it, ran it, and currently I happen to be the recipient of some accolades that I probably not due, but I'm glad to receive. And I'm sure my successor, Tyler, and his successor will likewise have that great degree of success. And the reason being, this is such a unique community, and it's that community of which you are an instrumental part. Thank you for honoring me today. Thank you, John, for being you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.